I thought my husband was hiding an affair until I learned what he was really protecting. It started on a normal Tuesday. No arguments, no tension, no warning signs. He was washing dishes at the sink. I was folding laundry on the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us was actually watching it. His phone buzzed on the counter. He didn't reach for it. Instead, he shifted his body slightly, just enough to block the screen from my view. I didn't react. People do that. I've done that. Later that night, we were already in bed when his phone buzzed again. This time he got up immediately. "I need some air," he said. He walked into the garage and closed the door behind him. I stayed in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint sound of his voice through the wall. When he came back, his face looked different. Not guilty. Not nervous. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Just work stuff." I believed him. At least I wanted to. At first, I didn't call it suspicion. Suspicion sounds dramatic, like I was already preparing an accusation. This was quieter than that. It was noticing. Noticing that his phone never left his body anymore. Not on the counter. Not on the nightstand. Not even in the shower. He took it everywhere, face down, screen dimmed, notifications silenced. When I asked him to check the weather, he unlocked it himself and handed it to me already open, hovering, waiting to take it back. I laughed it off. People are private. Privacy isn't betrayal. That's what I told myself. The garage calls became routine. Always after dinner. Always short. Always with the door closed. Sometimes I could hear his voice through the wall. Low, controlled, careful. Never laughing. Never angry. Just contained. When I asked who he was talking to, he never gave a name. Someone from work. A client. Just handling something. Something. That word started to itch. My mother noticed before I said anything. "He seems tired," she said one afternoon when she stopped by. Men get like that when they're under pressure. I almost told her everything right then. But I didn't want to sound paranoid. I didn't want to be the wife who invents problems in a stable marriage. So I swallowed it. Then came the bill. Not a message. Not a text. A piece of paper. I was sorting mail when I saw it. Thicker than usual, folded too many times. A phone bill. His name on it. I wasn't snooping. It was sitting on top of the pile unopened. I told myself I was just being practical. We shared finances. I handled the bills. That's when I noticed it. A second number. Not a new phone. Not a data line. A full second device. Activated 3 months ago. Paid on time. Every time. My chest tightened, slow and cold. 3 months. That meant this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a surprise. This was intentional. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I watched instead. I watched him angle his body away when he texted. I watched him step outside to take calls even when it was cold. I watched him go quiet when I entered the room. I started replaying everything backward, like a security tape. The missed glances. The rushed kisses. The way he stopped telling me about his day. And the more I watched, the more the story wrote itself. It was so easy. Too easy. I needed validation. So I told my mother. Not everything. Just enough. She didn't hesitate. "You're overthinking," she said. "He loves you. You've always been anxious." The dismissal stung more than I expected. I wasn't asking for permission to accuse him. I was asking someone to tell me I wasn't crazy. Instead, I felt isolated, alone with the story my brain was building. That night, when he went into the garage again, I followed him halfway. I stood in the hallway, barefoot on the cold tile, listening. I couldn't hear words, just tone. Gentle. Careful. Protective. That hurt more than anger would have, because anger would mean conflict. This sounded like affection. When he came back inside, I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. He paused in the doorway longer than usual. I felt the weight of his gaze on my back. Then he whispered, barely audible, "I'm sorry." I didn't move. I didn't ask what for. Because I already thought I knew. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying. Not because I was angry. Because my brain wouldn't stop organizing. Every detail suddenly had a place to land. The apology. The garage calls. The second phone. Patterns don't scare you until they line up. The next morning he acted normal. Too normal. He made coffee. Asked if I wanted eggs. Complained about traffic. People who are hiding something don't always act guilty. Sometimes they act rehearsed. Micro cliffhanger. That's when I realized this wasn't new to him. It was new to me. After he left for work, I opened the phone bill again. I wasn't looking for proof anymore. I was looking for confirmation. The second number had activity almost every day. Short calls. Long calls. Texts at hours that didn't make sense. 2:17 a.m., 6:03 a.m., Sunday afternoons. There was one number that appeared more than the rest. I stared at it for a long time. Then I saved it to my phone. Just a name. Unknown. I didn't call it. Yet. Instead, I did something worse. I checked the calendar. I matched call dates to days he came home late. Days he was exhausted. Days he skipped dinner. They matched perfectly. That's when my hand started shaking. Not violently. Precisely. Like my body already knew what my heart wasn't ready to accept. I thought about confronting him. About slamming the bill on the table. Demanding answers. But confrontation ends stories too quickly. I needed the full picture. So I waited. 2 nights later, he fell asleep before me. That never happened. He was always the light sleeper. Always the one who woke first. This time, his breathing slowed fast. Deep. Unaware. His phone was on the nightstand. Face down. Silent. I stared at it like it was a live wire. I had never touched his phone before. I told myself one thing before picking it up. If there's nothing there, I stop. That was the lie I needed to move my hand. The screen lit up. Locked. Of course. I tried the code. Once, twice. I didn't guess randomly. I tried our anniversary. It opened. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might be sick. He hadn't even changed the code. There were no messages on the main screen. No suspicious apps. No obvious names. Relief hit me for half a second. Then I remembered the bill. The second phone. This device wasn't the secret. It was the decoy. I turned it off and placed it back exactly where it was. Careful. Precise. Like a crime scene technician. I lay there in the dark, heart pounding, staring at the ceiling. Whatever was happening, it wasn't careless, and that scared me more than cheating ever could. The next day, I did something I never thought I would. I called the number. Not from my phone. From a work line. Blocked. It rang twice. Then someone answered. A woman. She didn't say hello. She said my husband's name. And that's when I knew this wasn't an affair. For a second, I couldn't speak. Hearing my husband's name in a stranger's voice did something violent inside my chest. Not shock. Recognition. She didn't ask who I was. She didn't sound surprised. She sounded prepared. Can I ask who's calling? She said calmly. My mouth opened before my brain could stop it. I'm calling about his car. A lie. Thin, desperate. There was a pause. Not long. Measured. Then she said, is he okay? That question landed wrong. Affairs don't ask that. Yes, I said quickly. He's fine. Another pause. Well, she replied, tell him to call me back, please. The line went dead. I stood there staring at the receiver like it had just confessed something without saying anything at all. I didn't feel relief. I felt displaced, like I'd stepped into the wrong story. The tone didn't match the evidence, so my brain did what brains do. It forced the pieces to fit anyway. By the time I got home that evening, I had rewritten everything. She wasn't calm. She was experienced. She wasn't professional. She was practiced. That wasn't concerned. That was ownership. I watched him eat dinner, laughing at something on TV, completely unaware that I was mentally erasing years of trust one assumption at a time. He reached for my hand. I let him, and hated myself for it. Later that night, he said he had to run an errand. I didn't ask where. I just nodded. Then I waited 5 minutes and followed him. I had never followed him before. I stayed 2 cars back. No music. Headlights dimmed. He didn't go to a house. He didn't go to a bar. He pulled into a hospital parking lot. My chest tightened. Hospitals can mean anything. Work, a friend, a lie. I stayed in the car and watched him walk inside. Purposeful. Familiar. Like he'd been there many times before. I sat there for almost 20 minutes. Every possibility ran through me. A sick parent. A secret job. An affair with a nurse. And then I saw her. The same woman. She walked through the sliding doors and stopped when she saw him. She didn't hug him. She didn't touch him. She just looked at him and said something that made him sit down. Hard. His head dropped into his hands. I couldn't hear them, but I could see enough. Her body angled toward him, his shoulders collapsing. That's when rage finally arrived. Clean. Sharp. Whatever this was, it had power over him, and he hadn't trusted me with it. I drove home before he came back. I needed control. When he walked in an hour later, his eyes were red. Not tired. Worn. Long night? I asked. He looked at me like he wanted to say something. Then didn't. Yeah, he said. Sorry. That was the moment. The exact second. I decided I was done waiting. That night, while he slept, I went back to the phone bill. Not just calls. Locations. The hospital number appeared more than any other. Weekly. Consistent. Intentional. Final cliffhanger. And then I saw the name attached to the account. Not hers. Not his. His mother. Seeing his mother's name on the account didn't calm me. It made everything worse. Because now there were too many explanations. And none of them were good. If it was an affair, why involve his mother? If it was a family emergency, why hide it from me? And if it was something else entirely, why did it feel like everyone knew except me? I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to know which lie I was dealing with. The next morning, I called her casually. Hey, I said, forcing my voice into something light. Just checking in. How are you feeling? There was a pause. A long one. I'm fine, she said. Too quick. Too flat. I stared at the kitchen window while my coffee went cold. That's good, I replied. I was just asking because I noticed your name on the hospital billing account. I assumed you were getting treatment. Silence. Then, a soft exhale. Oh, she said. That, my stomach dropped. She didn't deny it. She didn't explain it either. Your husband didn't want to worry you, she finally said. He's very protective. Protective, that word again? It sounded noble, but it tasted rotten. Protective of who? I asked, another pause. Longer this time. Of everyone, she said. And then, before I could ask anything else, she added, you should talk to him. That night I didn't wait. I didn't follow. Didn't check bills. I confronted him. Put the phone bill on the table between us like evidence. Explain this, I said. He didn't argue. He didn't deflect. He stared at the paper like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I didn't want you to find out this way, he said quietly. Find out what? My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. You've been lying to me, I said. 4 months, yes. That single word hurt more than excuses ever could. Are you cheating on me? I asked. The room went very still. No, he said immediately, too fast, too rehearsed. Then why the secrecy? Why the hospital? Why your mother's name? He ran a hand down his face. I can't tell you yet. That word broke something inside me. You don't get to decide that, I said. We're married. He looked up at me then, eyes red, jaw tight. I know, he said. That's why this is killing me, I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was absurd. You're destroying our marriage to protect a secret, I said. One that involves another woman, a hospital, and your mother. He stood up. I'm trying to protect you. There it was, the sentence everyone uses right before everything explodes. I don't need protection, I snapped. I need the truth. He didn't answer. He just walked away, slept on the couch, left early the next morning, and didn't come home that night. I spent that night alone, replaying every moment of the last year, every missed call, every late night, every time his mother had looked at me like she knew something I didn't. By morning, I had made my decision. If he wouldn't tell me the truth, I would find it myself. At 8:42 a.m., I received an email from the hospital. Subject line, patient access approved. And my name was on the authorization. I opened the email. My hands were shaking. Patient access approved. I clicked the link. A portal opened. Medical records, appointments, lab results, everything. And then I saw it. The line that made my stomach drop. Diagnosis. Early stage cancer. Confidential treatment ongoing. The word hit me harder than any betrayal ever could. All the lies. All the secrecy. All the late night whispers. Not cheating. Not betrayal. Protection. Fear. Love. Twisted into fear. I sat down at my kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the screen. I realized why he had been distant. Why calls went to voicemail. Why the mother's name kept popping up. She wasn't covering for an affair. She was covering for survival. The pieces fell together. Every suspicious act, every secret, every lie. It wasn't against me. It was for me. But relief was short-lived. Because now I understood the stakes. If the treatment had been leaked, the scandal could ruin him, his job, his reputation, everything. And he had been trying to protect all of us. But protection had a cost. Our marriage had been strained to the breaking point. My trust shattered. My heart in turmoil. And worst of all, I had spent months assuming the worst. Jumping to conclusions. Building walls, chasing shadows. While the real danger was inside a hospital room, silent, waiting. I wanted to rush to him. I wanted to yell, to cry, to fix everything. Instead, I waited. I printed every record, every lab result. I reviewed it like a case file, piece by piece. And then I realized something. I wasn't just the wife. I was a witness, an advocate. The only person who could see the truth without fear or judgment. The next message appeared in my inbox. Meet me tonight. ER room 3, come alone. My heart slammed. My breath caught. Because I knew whatever waited for me there would change everything. Forever. I arrived at the hospital just as the sun was dipping behind the city skyline. The lobby smelled of antiseptic and despair. People whispered in muted tones, clutching their loved ones. But I didn't notice them. I only noticed the elevator doors that led to the ER. I pressed the button, heart hammering, every step echoing like a drumbeat in my chest. As the doors opened, a nurse looked up, frowned, and waved me toward room 3. I paused. My hand hovered over the door handle. I knew I was stepping into a storm. Inside, the room was dim. Machines beeped softly. Monitors displayed graphs I didn't understand. But in the center, he was there, sitting on the edge of the bed, hands clasped, pale, fear etched into every line of his face. I froze. Words caught in my throat. I didn't want you to see me like this, he whispered. You were hiding, I said, voice shaking. You made me think the worst of you. For months. He looked down, ashamed. I had to protect you. I didn't want anyone, your family, your friends, knowing until I knew the outcome. I thought, if I could handle it myself, I could save you from the worry. My chest ached. Relief, anger, love, and betrayal collided in a storm. I stepped closer, gripping his hand. It was warm, alive, fragile. And then the doctor entered. Her expression was grim. My heart sank. Your latest scan came back, she said. There's been a complication. My stomach twisted. I thought I could breathe. I thought I understood the story. But the complication was something I couldn't predict. She paused, and I braced myself for the words. Treatment needs to start immediately. And it's going to be intensive. Very intensive. The room spun. My hands shook. I realized nothing I had done, nothing I had prepared for, could shield me from what was coming. The room was silent, except for the steady beep of the monitor. I gripped his hand, feeling the pulse of life I had almost taken for granted. The doctor continued, her voice softening. The good news is we caught it in time. The treatment will be tough, but there's a strong chance of full recovery. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave. Tears pricked my eyes. I had been holding fear like a shield, bracing for the worst. Now hope felt almost alien, yet intoxicating. He looked at me, his eyes wide, a flicker of vulnerability I had never seen. You stayed, he whispered. Even when I pushed you away. I nodded. I'm not going anywhere. Not for this. Not ever. We sat there for a long moment, neither speaking. Just breathing, holding on, letting the silence stretch between us like a fragile bridge. Later, in the quiet of his apartment, I finally spoke about everything, the lies, the secrets, the assumptions, the fear. He listened, never interrupting, and I realized the truth had power not because it was easy to hear, but because it demanded courage to face. We laughed for the first time in months, not a bitter laugh, not a nervous one, but light, unguarded, real. I thought about my family, about the walls we build to protect the people we love, and how sometimes those walls are just cages. I was scared, I admitted. I thought I would lose you, or that I'd never trust again. He smiled faintly. You didn't lose me. And you can trust because now we've both seen the worst and survived it. Final emotional payoff. Weeks later, treatment ended. Recovery was slow but steady. We rebuilt routines, rebuilt trust, rebuilt a life that had nearly collapsed under secrets and fear. The world outside didn't know. The ER, the hidden diagnoses, the months of whispered fears, they remained ours, private and sacred. But inside, we had learned something priceless. Secrets may protect, but only truth saves. Fear can paralyze, but courage transforms. Love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up when the world threatens to crumble. And as we walked hand in hand along the river one golden afternoon, I realized we had survived the storm. Not just the disease, not just the lies, but ourselves. And for the first time, life felt like something we could finally own together, fully without pretense. If you've ever faced a truth that terrified you, or had to confront someone you love to save them or yourself, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the hardest truth you've ever had to face? Follow for more stories about courage, survival, and emotional breakthroughs.